Maybe next time you'll learn where people like you belong. Unhook it. We have a notice. Issued under which rule? I need clear authorization.
Marcus, please. Residents, stay back. My mother has an appointment. Her schedule doesn't erase violations.
That ramp isn't finished. Should we say something?
Don't get involved. You're all watching this. Do not open that cab. I need to check the steering.
Secure the vehicle.
There's a locked metal box under the seat.
Suspicious container.
Personal property.
Then prove it.
You're making this harder. Show me the approved rule.
He's refusing compliance.
Write down exactly what I asked. Ma'am, paperwork looks off. Move the truck. Not until you show a...
Please, his wife used to sit in that
Personal
truck.
attachment doesn't override standards.
That was cruel.
Tow fee and penalties apply. Keep the notice. You want the yard address? I know where...
Appeal in writing. Come inside.
In a minute.
What was in that box? We should have waited.
This is over. No, it just started.
The tow truck was already hooked to Marcus Hale's pickup when the HOA president smiled and said, "Maybe next time you'll learn where people like you belong." Neighbors watched from porches. His mother's medical ramp lay unfinished in the driveway. His daughter's recital program was folded in his shirt pocket. How could one parked truck become a public trial? Why did Marcus keep so calm while they dragged away the only vehicle he seemed to own? And what was hidden in the locked metal box under the seat? By the time the truth rolled down that quiet street, the HOA would wish they had never touched his truck. The chain gave a short metallic cough as Earl Madsen tightened it around the pickup's rear frame. The sound crossed the driveway to the open door where Ruth Hale stood with her walker. "Unhook it before you move another inch," Marcus said beside the bumper. Earl kept his cap low. "I'm just doing the call." "The call is wrong." Delaney Voss smiled in her cream blazer, clean beside the sawdust from the half-built ramp. "Mr. Hale, you were given an opportunity to cooperate. You gave me 7 minutes." Grant Keller hugged a blue folder. "Emergency compliance notice." Marcus turned to him. "Issued under which rule?" Grant's mouth opened, then closed. Across the street, porch doors rested open a few inches. A sprinkler ticked. Ruth pushed her walker forward. "Marcus, baby, leave it. I can wait." "You shouldn't have to. Your appointment is at 10. Delaney lifted her tablet. "Your mother's schedule does not erase a vehicle violation. It isn't commercial. It has lumber. It has mud on the tires." The tow hook swung under the bumper, slow and heavy. Marcus felt the folded recital program in his shirt pocket slide loose. He pressed it flat with 2 fingers. "Show me the approved rule," he said, "and I'll read it right here." "You don't get to audit us from a driveway." "I asked for a rule." "You were told to remove the truck." Ruth's walker scraped the porch tile. "That truck brought my medicine last week." "That is not relevant," Delaney said. Next door, Mae Whitcomb watched. When Delaney glanced over, the blinds dropped by 2 inches. "Earl," Delaney said. "Continue." Earl cleared his throat. "I need the keys if the steering locks." Marcus slid one hand into his pocket. The key ring was warm from his palm, with a brass tag scratched LH by his late wife. "The keys stay with me," Marcus said. "Nobody opens the cab. There's a locked metal box under the passenger seat." Grant looked up. "Hazardous material?" "No." "Then why mention it?" Delaney asked. "Because it doesn't belong to you." 2 houses down, Nina Alvarez stepped onto her porch with a phone angled at her hip. "Recording enforcement actions violates our civility policy," Delaney said. Nina's phone dipped. Marcus turned only his eyes toward her. "You're allowed to record from your porch," Grant whispered. "Maybe wait for confirmation." "We are the office," Delaney said. Earl looked from Ruth to Marcus. "Lady, I got a signature here." Marcus stepped toward the clipboard. "Let me read it." Delaney moved between them, sharp perfume cutting through sawdust and oil. "No, you have been disruptive enough." Inside Ruth's house, the kettle Marcus had forgotten on the stove began to whistle. "Mom," he said, "turn off the burner." Ruth did not move. Not while they take your truck. Earl reached for the driver's door handle. Marcus's hand came down on the door edge. Don't open it. I don't want trouble, Earl said. Then don't make any. The hook under the bumper had stopped swinging, hanging still as a weight. Delaney lifted her tablet higher. Remove your hand. No, Marcus said. Not until you show me who authorized this tow. Grant's folder slipped. A white page slid out and landed face up beside the unfinished ramp. Before that white page hit the concrete, the morning began with lumber knocking against Marcus's tailgate. At 6:45 a.m., October 17th, 2026, Willow Creek Estates smelled of wet leaves and sprinkler water. Marcus backed his old pickup into his mother's driveway, careful not to scrape the white mailbox with Hale printed in faded black letters. Down the block, a dog barked once and quit. Ruth opened the front door before he reached the porch. You're early, she said. You taught me that early is on time. I taught you that when you still had hair on both sides. Marcus touched the gray at his temple. Still got enough to argue? She smiled, but her walker was angled wrong. One rubber foot caught on the threshold. He crossed the damp grass, took the frame, and set it square on the tile. You shouldn't be standing there. And you shouldn't be carrying lumber before breakfast. I had coffee. That is not breakfast. He reached into his shirt pocket for the folded program Olivia had given him. The paper had softened at the crease. Golden Fall Recital was printed across the top, and under it, Olivia Hale, piano accompaniment. He had missed her first concert after Lydia's funeral years ago. He would not keep missing the quiet things. Ruth saw the corner of the program. You called her? Left a message. Marcus. She rehearses early. Call again after you finish my ramp. He laid the program on the dashboard where he could see it, then pulled work gloves from the bed. The leather was cold and stiff. As he lifted the first board, a curtain twitched across the street. Ben Whitcomb stood behind his screen door in a plaid robe. Marcus nodded. Ben raised 2 fingers, then looked past him at the truck. By 7:30, the ramp frame was chalked on the driveway. Sawdust gathered in pale stripes over the concrete. Ruth sat inside by the window with a blanket across her knees, pretending to read while watching every move. A woman in running shoes slowed near the curb. You doing construction? Just a ramp for my mother. HOA, no? They got my permit request Monday. Delaney likes things in writing. It was in writing. The runner gave a small laugh. Around here, she likes them in her writing. At 8:10, Olivia called. Marcus wiped his thumb on his jeans. Hey, Liv. You sound outside. Your grandmother is supervising a major infrastructure project. Ruth tapped the window. Tell her I heard that. Olivia laughed. You still coming tonight? Marcus looked at the program on the dash. Condensation had blurred the lower corner. Front row if I can get through your grandmother's inspection. No work emergencies? Not today. A small pause settled between them. You said that last time. He set the board down, gently. I know. A delivery van rolled past, slowed, then continued. The driver glanced at the pickup, at the lumber, at Marcus. I'll be there, Marcus said. After the call, he stood with the phone in his hand. The sun hit the windshield, lighting the folded program like a small white flag. Then a shadow crossed it. A cream-colored SUV stopped at the curb. Delaney Voss stepped out with a tablet against her chest, and Grant Keller followed with a blue folder already open. Delaney did not step onto the driveway yet. She stood at the curb as if damp grass were a line Marcus had crossed. Good morning, she said. Marcus set the drill on the tailgate. Morning. Grant Keller stayed behind her, folder pressed to his chest, tie pulled too tight. Delaney studied the lumber, chalk lines, then the pickup. Exterior modifications require final approval before work begins. Marcus took a sleeve from the porch rail. Submitted Monday. Medical ramp. Accommodation form attached. Grant reached for it. Delaney lifted one finger. That is a request, not approval. My mother has a medical appointment at 10. Then you should have planned better. Inside the window, Ruth's cup touched its saucer with a small click. Marcus breathed through damp wood and gasoline. I'm asking for safe access, he said. This community has standards. Across the street, Ben stood with his newspaper under his arm. Grant opened the folder. There's also the vehicle matter. What vehicle matter? Commercial-style truck visible from the street. Materials in the bed. Possible obstruction of driveway aesthetics. Possible? Marcus asked. That's the language, Grant said. Show me the rule. Delaney angled her tablet toward him. Section 7. Nuisance and appearance. That isn't a truck ban. It gives the board discretion. Her eyes touched the recital program on his dashboard. Visitors often misunderstand Willow Creek. This house belongs to my mother. And the truck? Mine. Then remove it to the overflow lot until review. Marcus looked towards the gate. Ruth could not cross 3 porch steps without the ramp. The frame lay on the concrete like a question. No, he said. I'm finishing enough of this ramp for my mother. After that, we can discuss the truck. That is not how compliance works. It is how knees and stairs work. A sound came from Nina Alvarez's porch, almost a laugh, then a cough. Her phone rested half-hidden against her cardigan. Delaney faced Marcus. I'm issuing an emergency notice. For a parked truck? For refusal to comply. Grant slid out a white page. Its corner fluttered in the cool air. Marcus took it. This says the board met yesterday. It did. My mother was home yesterday. No notice was posted. Executive session. Who attended? That is not your concern. Marcus read the bottom line. His finger stopped on the signature. He knew the name from Ruth's old card list, a treasurer who had moved away 2 summers before. This signature, he said. Grant swallowed. What about it? Delaney asked. I'll need the minutes. You'll receive what owners are entitled to receive. My mother is an owner, and you are not. Ruth pushed the door open. He is my son. Delaney did not look at her. Then he should know better than to create a scene. Ben lowered his newspaper. A mower shut off behind the houses. Marcus stepped between Ruth and the driveway. Nobody is creating a scene. Delaney tapped her tablet. You have 30 minutes to remove the vehicle and stop work. After that, corrective action begins at the owner's expense. Put that in writing, too, Marcus said. Grant offered another form. Delaney had already filled in the time. The second form felt heavier than the first, as if the paper knew it carried a threat. Marcus took it by the corner. The time read 8:17 a.m. Grant had written one line, older dark pickup, visible tools, commercial use suspected. Suspected by whom? Marcus asked. Delaney's smile thinned. By the board. The board that met yesterday without posted notice? In executive session. With a signature from a man who moved away 2 years ago? Grant's eyes flicked up. Delaney turned her tablet against her hip. That is not your field of expertise. Marcus held the page in the pale light. You don't know my field. Across the street, Ben Whitcomb opened his door, then froze. May stood behind him. Ruth called from the doorway. Marcus, just build the middle rail. No, ma'am. You're not practicing on unfinished boards. That woman is making you choose. Delaney looked at Ruth. Mrs. Hale, the association has been patient with this property. With my flowers? Ruth asked. With unauthorized activity. Marcus looked down. Sawdust clung to the edge of the notice. Beneath Ruth's address, the lot number read 18C. Grant, why does this list Lot 18C? Grant shifted the folder. Template error. This house is 21B. Still Willow Creek, Delaney said. Marcus touched the old signature. The white sheet shivered in the breeze. This isn't an emergency notice. It's a copied violation sheet. You are obstructing enforcement. I'm asking what you're enforcing. Nina Alvarez stood halfway down her porch steps. Her phone hung at her side. Delaney saw it. Ms. Alvarez, don't involve yourself. I'm getting my mail. Your mailbox is at the curb. Nina stayed there. Marcus photographed the notice, signature, and wrong lot number. You can't photograph internal documents, Grant said. You handed it to me. For compliance. For evidence, Marcus said. The word changed the air. Beyond the gate, a diesel engine coughed. Grant turned to Delaney. Maybe verify the file. We verified enough. Delaney, call Madsen. Tell him priority removal. Marcus's phone buzzed on the tailgate. Olivia's name lit the screen. Answer your daughter, Ruth said. I'll call her back. He reached for it, but Delaney spoke over the ringtone. If you leave, we proceed without you. The phone stopped. A voicemail icon appeared beside Olivia's name. May whispered, Ben, that isn't right. Ben folded his paper until the crease cracked. Marcus slid the phone into his pocket without listening. He set the notice flat on the ramp board. Grant, take a picture. Make sure the wrong lot number shows. Grant's hand hovered over his folder. Delaney stepped onto the drive. Her cream shoe pressed into sawdust. You're enjoying this? Marcus looked up. No. Then why are you smiling? I'm not. He wasn't. His face had gone still, all softness pulled behind his eyes. The tow truck turned onto the street. Nina lifted her phone an inch, then lowered it when Delaney's head snapped toward her. Marcus placed one finger on the copied signature. Before that truck touches my bumper, I want the minutes, approved rule, and authorization. Amber lights flashed over Ruth's windows, and the notice trembled against the unfinished ramp. Amber light washed over the windshield in slow orange pulses. The tow truck rolled to the curb, brakes sighing, hot rubber mixing with sawdust and Ruth's roses. Earl Madsen climbed down with a clipboard under one arm. Vehicle removal? He asked. Delaney raised her tablet. Emergency compliance. Marcus checked his phone. Olivia's missed call sat beneath the clock. He opened the timer from his ramp cuts, set it for 30 minutes, and started it at 8:21. Delaney frowned. What are you doing? Keeping the time you gave me. You already refused. I asked for the rule. Grant swallowed. The office can provide documents during business hours. It is business hours. Not for walk-ins. Then call it. He tapped the emergency number and put the call on speaker. The recording asked for a message. Marcus said, This is Marcus Hale at 21B Cedar Ledge Drive. I'm requesting the approved rule, tow authorization, minutes, and board vote for the notice issued at 8:17 a.m. Delaney reached for the phone. That is enough. Marcus turned his wrist away. The timer glowed. 24:08. Earl scratched his beard. I got another pickup after this. Then you need clean paperwork. I got a signed order. You have a copied notice with the wrong lot number. Earl turned to Grant. Wrong lot? Template error. Doesn't sound small. Delaney snapped. Your contract requires response when called. Contract says authorization, too. Grant looked down. Ruth's voice came thin from the porch. Marcus, my appointment. I know. It's only a check. It's not only a check. She pressed her lips together. Last winter, one missed check had become weeks of forms, and a nurse speaking too gently. He set a board across the frame. Earl, wait 20 minutes, and I can get my mother down safely. I can't authorize construction, Delaney said. I wasn't asking you. Grant stepped closer. Move the truck to the street. Finish the ramp, then appeal. The street is still HOA frontage, according to your form. Grant stared at the page. Nina stood at her empty mailbox, phone face down. Ben and May watched from their porch. Delaney raised her voice. Residents, return indoors. This is private enforcement. No, it isn't, Ruth said. Everyone turned. She had moved one walker leg over the threshold. The rubber tip hung above the first step. Mom, Marcus said, I lived here 9 years. I paid every fee. Her breath caught. Don't call my house private when you embarrass my son in front of it. May covered her mouth. Ben looked down. The timer read 1832. Delaney's cheeks colored. Mrs. Hale, step back before you fall. Marcus crossed to Ruth and eased her back. Then he knelt and tightened a loose screw by hand. The metal bit pressed into his fingertips. His phone buzzed again. Olivia. Ruth whispered, Answer. Marcus looked at Delaney, Earl's chain, and Grant's folder. Not yet. The call vanished. Another voicemail icon joined the first. Delaney nodded towards the tow truck. Time is not changing the decision. Earl walked to the pickup's rear frame with the hook in both hands. Grant whispered, Maybe we should wait. Delaney did not answer him. The hook touched steel with a dull, final tap. The hook rested against the frame, not yet locked, and Earl's thumb stayed on the latch. Hold on, he muttered. Delaney turned. Mr. Madsen. I said hold on. He bent close to the hitch. This order says Lot 18C. Grant's folder snapped. It's clerical. Earl looked at the number above Ruth's porch light. That house says 21B. It is the same association, Delaney said. Marcus stood between the open ramp frame and the truck. The screw he had tightened had left a crescent in his thumb. Read the authorization line, he said. Earl's eyes moved across the page. Diesel fumes drifted over the curb, mixing with wet leaves. The amber bar clicked and clicked, turning every window into warning. Signed by the manager, Earl said. Dated yesterday, but the service request came in this morning. Delaney's jaw set. We had advance notice. Of a truck that arrived this morning? Marcus asked. No one answered fast enough. Across the street, Ben Whitcomb stepped onto his porch. May caught his sleeve. Ben. This don't look right, he said. Delaney pointed her tablet. Mr. Whitcomb, please go inside. I'm on my porch. And interfering. I haven't moved. May leaned close, her voice low but carrying. Don't get in their mess. Marcus heard it. So did Ruth. Nina lifted her phone again. Her hand trembled until sunlight flashed off the screen. Ms. Alvarez, Delaney said, recording residents without consent can result in penalties. I'm recording my street. You're recording enforcement. Marcus looked at Nina. Keep it steady if you do. She raised the phone to her chest. Grant stepped toward Delaney. We should pause until I pull the file. We will not reward theatrics. Earl scratched his neck, leaving a grease line. Ma'am, I need the correct address and authority. My insurance hates gray areas. Your company loves our monthly checks. That ain't the same thing. Now there was only amber clicking, idle engine rumble, and Grant breathing through his nose. Delaney leaned toward Earl. "Finish the hookup. I will confirm the paperwork. I need that in writing." "You have it." "I got something. Not sure it's what you think." Grant said, "Delaney, if the address is wrong, then correct it." Grant pulled out a pen. Marcus stepped forward. "Don't alter that document in my mother's driveway." The pen froze over page. Delaney smiled at him, but her mouth had lost its shape. "You are not in charge here." "No," Marcus said. "That's the problem." Ben's door clicked shut. May had pulled him inside. The curtain moved once, then settled, leaving a narrow, dark line between fabric and glass. Ruth saw it and lowered her eyes. Earl slowly removed the hook from the frame. Metal scraped metal, brief and ugly. Delaney's head turned. "What are you doing?" "Waiting for a clean order." "You're breaching contract." "I'm preventing a claim." The timer on Marcus's phone buzzed. 30 minutes gone. Delaney silenced it with one sharp tap. Nobody moved. Marcus held out his hand. "Give it back." She placed it on the hood beside the violation notice, close enough to touch and far enough to make the point. Then Grant's pen slipped from his fingers and rolled under the pickup, toward the locked cab. Grant bent for the pen, but it had rolled past his fingers, under the pickup's shadow. "I'll get it," he said. "Leave it," Marcus answered. "It's my pen." "It's under my truck." Delaney folded her arms. "Are we protecting office supplies now?" Earl crouched, one knee popping. "I can reach it." "No one opens the cab," Marcus said. Grant straightened. "Nobody said anything about the cab." Delaney looked through the window. "If the vehicle is subject to removal, the contractor may secure it." "It is not subject to removal." "That has not been determined." "It was determined when your document had the wrong lot." Her sleeve brushed the mirror. "Mr. Madsen, check whether the steering is locked." Earl stopped with his hand near the handle. "Thought we were waiting." "We waited." He refused. Marcus moved one step. Across the street, Nina's phone jerked upward. "Don't open that door." Ruth's walker squeaked on the porch tile. "Marcus." "Mom, stay inside." Delaney's eyes brightened. "There it is, the aggression." Grant wrote with another pen. "Owner became verbally confrontational regarding cab access." Marcus's keyring pressed into his palm. The brass tag with Lydia's initials had warmed there until letters bit his skin. Under the seat, the metal box held the last files his wife had watched him pack before she got sick, and a photograph Olivia had slipped inside after the funeral. Earl's hand closed around the door handle. "Earl," Marcus said, his voice cutting through the engine noise. "Do not." Delaney laughed. "Is that where you keep the contraband lumber receipts?" "I said, don't open my truck." "Refusal to allow contractor inspection," Delaney dictated. Nina called from the curb. "He asked for paperwork." "Ms. Alvarez, last warning." Nina's phone lowered an inch. Earl pulled the door. The old hinge groaned. The smell of coffee, cedar shavings, and engine oil spilled out. Sunlight touched the locked gray box. Ruth made a sound Marcus had not heard since Lydia's hospital room. Marcus placed his palm against the doorframe. "That box stays closed." Delaney leaned in. "What's in it?" "Nothing that belongs to the HOA." "Tools? Cash? Business records?" Marcus looked at Grant's form. "Write this. Personal locked container under passenger seat. Not part of any alleged violation." Grant hesitated. Delaney snapped. "Right. Occupant refused inspection of suspicious container." "I am not the occupant," Marcus said. "I'm the owner." "Then prove it." He reached toward his pocket. Not for the full truth. Not yet. Only the registration. Delaney lifted her tablet. Slowly. Every porch seemed to shrink back. Nina kept recording. Marcus held out the folded card. Truck is registered to me. Address listed as my warehouse, not commercial use here. Warehouse? Grant said. Marcus heard the word land. He put the card away before they could follow it. Earl reached under the seat for the pen and knocked the metal box. The hollow tap rang once. Marcus closed his hand around Lydia's key until the brass tag cut deeper. Enough. The word was quiet, but Earl pulled back as if the truck itself had spoken. From under the passenger seat, Grant's pen rolled again and came to rest against the locked box. Grant stared at the pen as if it had rolled somewhere forbidden. Marcus reached into the cab, picked it up with 2 fingers, and handed it over without moving from the locked box. Document the refusal, Delaney said. Earl shut the door softly. The latch clicked like a cup set down in a sick room. Marcus turned to him. You know this isn't clean. I know it's above what I came for. Then don't move it. Delaney raised her tablet. Owner obstructs emergency removal. Contractor advised to proceed. Grant's pen moved, slower now. Amber lights circled across Ruth's storm door. Her face had gone pale behind the glass. Marcus, she said, let them have it. I can call the clinic. No, it's only a truck. He looked at the folded recital program. Not only today. Delaney stepped closer. Move it voluntarily. I can't leave my mother trapped behind steps. You should have considered that. Earl rubbed his thumb along the hook. Note that I asked for corrected paperwork. Noted, Delaney said, though Grant did not write it. The chain caught. Metal tightened. The rear of the pickup rose by inches. Ruth pushed the storm door open. Please, his wife used to sit in that truck. The street went still. Marcus watched water cling to the lifting tire, tremble, then fall. Mrs. Hale, Delaney said, personal attachment does not override community standards. May Whitcomb's curtain snapped shut. Nina stood with her phone high, one hand covering her mouth. The truck rolled backward. Marcus walked beside it until the curb. Earl kept his gaze on the mirrors. You want the yard address? Earl asked. I know where your yard is. Delaney followed. Tow fee, penalty, ramp fine, hearing charge. Grant tore a yellow copy from the pad. His hand shook when he offered it. Marcus did not take it. Delaney pressed the paper against his chest. Appeal in writing within 10 business days. It slid near the ramp frame. The pickup's front wheels bumped over the driveway lip. The box vanished behind tinted glass and amber light. Marcus's phone buzzed. Olivia again. He watched the screen until it stopped. He played the voicemail only after it arrived. Dad, I know you're working, but I just wanted to hear you say you're coming. It's okay if you can't. I saved the aisle seat anyway. A soft piano chord sounded behind her. Then the message ended. Marcus lowered the phone. His fingers would not fold around it right away. Delaney watched him. If you're finished performing, clear the boards. Nina said, You didn't have to say that. Nina's phone dipped, but she did not step back. The tow truck turned at the end of Cedar Ledge Drive. The pickup disappeared behind the maples, leaving only a black wet mark where the rear tire had been. Marcus bent to pick up the yellow notice. Beside it, in the dust near the first ramp board, lay a small silver screw. He picked it up. The scratched head rested cold in his palm. Ruth called from the doorway. Come inside. In a minute. Delaney's SUV door opened. Wise choice. Marcus placed the screw in his pocket, beside Lydia's key, then lifted his mother's permit request from the porch rail. He turned not toward the house, but toward the sidewalk leading to the HOA office. By 9:06, dew had burned off the lawns. Marcus walked the 6 blocks with Ruth's permit request, the tow receipt, and the wrong lot notice. In his pocket, the silver screw tapped Lydia's key with each step. The glass door reflected a dusty work shirt, sawdust on his jeans, no truck behind him. Inside, the lobby smelled of lemon cleaner and old carpet. A woman at the desk looked over red reading glasses. "Can I help you?" "Marcus Hale. I need the vehicle rule, tow authorization, yesterday's minutes, and the Madsen contract." Her nameplate read, Paula Briggs. Silver hair was pinned so tightly it lifted her eyebrows. "Are you a resident?" "My mother is. Ruth Hale, 21B Cedar Ledge. Mr. Keller handles records. I'll wait." Behind the conference room door, Delaney's voice cut through. "He walked here?" Grant answered, lower. "I think so." The door opened. Grant stood with his blue folder. "Mr. Hale, this isn't a walk-in issue." "It became one when my truck left my mother's driveway." Delaney appeared behind him, blazer still spotless. "Requests go through the portal." Marcus set the papers on the counter. "Portal receipt from Monday. Medical ramp request. No answer." "That's architectural, not enforcement." "Then give me enforcement records." Grant swallowed. "We acknowledge requests within 5 business days. You towed in under 1 hour." Paula looked down. The wrong lot number sat on top, black ink against white. Delaney said, "Paula, step away." Paula's chair wheels creaked back. Grant clicked his pen. "Resident representative is insistent." "Accurate," Marcus said. Marcus noticed the glass trophy case beside the desk. A tablet sat under newsletters, screen angled up. In the reflection, a small red dot glowed. Recording. Meeting room audio. He shifted his papers until the reflection sharpened. Grant saw it first. His face drained. "Delaney." "What?" "The tablet." She reached for it. Her sleeve caught the newsletters, and pages slid to the floor. Marcus picked one up before Paula could. It was dated tomorrow. Vehicle policy clarification. Commercial appearance includes visible work materials. He laid it beside the tow receipt. Delaney snatched it back. Internal draft. Tomorrow's clarification for this morning's tow. Grant whispered, "I told you we should wait." "You told me you could fix the language," Delaney snapped. The red dot stayed lit. "Please preserve that recording," Marcus said. Delaney stabbed the screen. "It wasn't recording. It says it was. It was left on by mistake." "Then the mistake matters." Grant looked at the draft in her fist. "We should call counsel." "We should make an example," Delaney said, then caught the words too late. A leaf blower cut off outside. The windows held the silence. Paula slid a copy slip toward Marcus without looking up. "County line," she whispered. "Madsen's yard." Delaney turned. "What did you say?" Paula touched her glasses. "I asked if he wanted copies." Marcus folded the slip beneath Ruth's receipt. "Yes, ma'am." "You don't understand association authority," Delaney said. He looked at the tiny red dot. "I'm beginning to." When he stepped into the sunlight, the paper in his palm smelled of toner and lemon cleaner. County line towing sat behind a chain-link fence where sidewalks ended and gravel took over. Marcus reached it at 9:31, shoes powdered white from the road. His pickup waited near the office. A mud streak crossed the driver's door. Seeing it stopped him for one breath. Inside, a fan rattled. The room smelled of diesel, coffee, and peppermint. A woman behind the counter looked up from an invoice. She was about 45, with brown-gray hair, brass glasses, and a peppermint tucked in her cheek. Her shirt read, Tessa Monroe. "Dark pickup?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am." "Cash, card, or association release?" "None." "That means trouble." From the garage bay, Earl Madsen wiped his hands on a rag. "You walked?" "Part of the way. I told them paperwork was bad. You hooked it anyway." "I unhooked once." "Then hooked again." Tessa set down her pen. Earl looked at the floor. "HOA president said we'd lose the contract." Marcus placed the wrong lot notice on the counter, then the draft policy, then the tow receipt. Tessa read without touching them. "This policy is dated tomorrow." "Yes." "And lot number is wrong." "Yes." A chain clinked outside. Marcus took Lydia's key from his pocket. The brass tag had warmed to his palm. "I need my box." "We don't open containers," Tessa said. "I'm opening it." They followed him across the gravel. When he opened the passenger door, the cab released cedar shavings, coffee, and old paper. He slid the gray metal box onto the seat. The key scraped before turning. Inside were 3 folders, a photo of Olivia beside Lydia in a hospital garden, and an old badge case wrapped in cloth. Marcus removed only the folders. The first held a 1998 easement showing the driveway could not be blocked by a private association. The second held Ruth's access letter. The third read Independent Transport Compliance Review. Willow Creek HOA Vendor Practices. Tessa touched that folder. "You're reviewing them?" Quietly, Earl whispered. "For who?" Marcus covered the badge case. "For now, for my mother." Tessa read the top sheet. Marcus Hale, Hale Meridian Logistics. Earl looked up. "The company with the blue yards off Interstate 40? Marcus returned the paper. "My truck is registered to me. That is all Delaney needed." Tessa's face changed. "She thought you were just some driver." "Most people did." The answer settled harder than a boast. Tessa came back with a thin contract. "Delaney sends tow calls direct. Grant signs the forms, but her emails authorize removals." "Print the call log?" Earl rubbed his forehead with the rag. "Tessa." "She's asking me to bill a bad tow," Tessa said. "I'm asking the printer." A machine coughed inside. "I should have stopped," Earl said. "You still can." "How?" "Release it." "They'll scream." "Let them do it at the community hall." Tessa returned with pages. "Emergency board meeting tonight, 6 p.m. It appeared on the calendar 9 minutes ago." Marcus folded the call log once. "Then the truck goes there." Earl blinked. "You want it parked in front?" "No." Marcus locked the box, slid it under the passenger seat, and shut the door. The small click sounded louder than the fan. "I want it returned exactly where they claimed it didn't belong." At 5:58 p.m., the community hall smelled of floor wax and burnt coffee. The pickup stood outside the glass doors, centered in the visitor space Delaney had called inappropriate for community image. Earl had backed it in himself. Tessa waited near the tow truck with a folder against her coat. Inside, chairs scraped in nervous bursts. Delaney sat at the front table with Grant and Howard Crane, the treasurer. Marcus entered last, carrying the easement, tow log, and Ruth's medical letter. "Mr. Hale," Delaney said, "this meeting is for owners." Ruth answered from behind him. "Then he is with me." She stood in the doorway, one hand on her walker, one on Marcus's sleeve. Olivia had driven her there, but her eyes stayed on the floor. Grant tapped the microphone. "Emergency session concerning continued non-compliance at 21B. Marcus set his folder on the first chair. "Before you vote, I'm requesting the approved rule." Delaney smiled toward the room. "Visible work vehicles damage uniform standards." "Where is that written?" "Section 7 gives the board discretion." Marcus opened one page. Section 7 covers noise, refuse, and dangerous storage. My truck was parked in a private driveway while I built a medical ramp. Howard adjusted his glasses. The board has historically interpreted. Interpretation isn't adoption. A murmur moved through the room. Marcus placed the 1998 easement on the table. The paper made almost no sound. This driveway cannot be blocked by association action without owner consent or lawful order. The tow blocked medical access. Grant stared at the seal. Priya Shah, a board member Marcus had not met, leaned forward. Why haven't we seen this? Because no one asked, Delaney said. I asked this morning, Marcus replied. Tessa stepped in through the side door and handed him the tow call log. Marcus nodded once. This request was placed before the notice was issued. The policy clarification was drafted after the tow. The lot number was wrong. The authorization came through Mrs. Voss before any verified vote. Grant's pen stopped moving. Delaney's hand closed around the microphone base. You are making serious accusations. I'm reading your documents. Olivia looked toward him. Ruth's walker grip creaked under her fingers. Marcus opened the last folder. For 20 years, I reviewed transport compliance, vendor contracts, and private road access disputes. I know what a bad tow order looks like. Howard blinked. Reviewed for whom? Federal and state contracts, mostly. Later, my own company. That is not the issue tonight. But it landed anyway. Chairs shifted. Delaney's smile disappeared 1 inch at a time. Nina lifted her phone. I have video from this morning. Not all of it, but enough. Ben cleared his throat. We saw the lot number. May whispered. Ben. No, he said, barely above the humming lights. We saw it. Grant reached toward Delaney's tablet. We need counsel before we continue. Delaney pulled it away. We need order. Marcus slid the easement closer to the microphone. Then start with the record. Outside, through the glass, the pickup's hood reflected the hall lights. On the table, the easement lay flat, and no one seemed willing to touch it first. By 8:12 the next morning, folding tables formed a square under buzzing lights. File boxes lined the community hall wall. Marcus arrived with Ruth's medical letter and the silver screw in his pocket. He took the last chair by the radiator, where the air smelled of dust and old heat. At the center table, Priya Shah opened a laptop. Delaney sat 2 seats away, hands clasped, hair pinned too neatly. Beside Priya, Samuel Reed tapped legal pads into alignment. He was 54, a county records auditor with round glasses, gray stubble, and a voice that made every sentence sound numbered. I need minutes for all vehicle policy votes, Samuel said. Grant pushed forward a box. That should be most of it. Most is not a category. Samuel opened the first binder. Plastic sleeves stuck together with a soft peel. April 2022. Landscaping. Poolgate. No vehicles. Priya checked the index. Try August. Grant reached too quickly. Samuel stopped him with 2 fingers on the page. I'll turn the pages. Samuel kept reading. August 2023. Draft discussion. No motion. October 2023. Closed session. No agenda notice. January 2024. Fine schedule updated without vote count. Priya looked at Grant. Where are the signed minutes? Delaney said. Archived digitally. Then produce them, Samuel said. Grant lifted a tablet. His thumb shook against the screen. Some files were migrated. Samuel wrote, migrated in block letters. From where? No answer came. The side door opened. Ben Whitcomb entered with a shoebox. May followed with a grocery bag pressed to her coat. We didn't know if this mattered, Ben said. He set down receipts for 3 fines, a garden hose, a mailbox flag, a visiting nurse's car. May would not look at Marcus. They told us appeals caused higher fees. Delaney's chair scraped. Residents misunderstand courtesy warnings. May pulled out a letter. This one says legal action. After that, people came in small waves. A retired teacher brought certified mail slips. A young father laid down a photo of a contractor's van with a red sticker. Paula Briggs arrived with 2 office boxes. By 10 o'clock, the table had become a paper storm. Nina stood near the coffee urn, phone in both hands. Her sleeve covered half her fingers. Marcus saw her before she spoke. "You don't have to." "I do." She crossed the room and gave the phone to Samuel. "I recorded the tow. Not all of it." The laptop showed Marcus's driveway, tilted slightly. Delaney's voice came thin through the speakers. "Residents, return indoors." Then Marcus, "You're allowed to record from your porch." The video dipped. Grass filled the frame. Nina's breathing came loud and close. "I stopped," Nina said, "when she looked at me." On screen, Ruth's voice trembled. "Don't call my house private when you embarrass my son in front of it." Nina wiped her cheek. "I'm sorry." Marcus looked at the dark phone screen. "You came back." Samuel removed his glasses. "Preserve the original file. Ms. Briggs, seal these boxes. Mr. Keller, no one edits the drive." Grant whispered, "Understood." At the bottom of Ben's shoebox, Marcus noticed one more document, a tow warning dated 3 months before Ruth's notice, signed with the same moved-away treasurer's name. The duplicate signature glowed on the screen while Samuel Reed asked everyone to sit. Grant Keller stayed standing. Delaney reached for the microphone first. "Before this goes further," she said, "staff prepared many routine forms." Samuel adjusted the projector. "We are reviewing vehicle enforcement, tow authorization, and altered policy language. Mrs. Voss, give us the timeline." Delaney nodded toward Grant. "The manager handles procedure." "Procedure," Grant said. "Forms, notices, templates. Your department." Priya Shah folded her hands. "Mr. Keller, did you create the notice for 21B?" "I filled it out." "Who directed that template?" "The board relies on staff judgment," Delaney said. Grant's pen stopped. "No." The word was small. Samuel looked over his glasses. "I didn't decide that, Toe," Grant said. "You told me to pull any vehicle language that gave us room." Samuel clicked a file. The speaker hissed. Then Delaney's office voice filled the hall. "Make the truck the example. If the sentence is thin, fix it before the meeting." Grant's pen slipped from his fingers. It struck the table, rolled, and dragged a blue line through the word procedure. Grant stared at the mark. "I changed the date because she said residents wouldn't read the packet." Delaney's face hardened. "You are protecting yourself." "I'm trying to stop." Ruth sat beside Marcus with her walker against her knee, one thumb rubbing the worn handle. Samuel opened the next email. October 17th, 7:44 a.m. "Call Madsen now. We can correct the technicals later." Earl Madsen stood near the rear wall, cap in both hands. Samuel asked, "Did you receive a verified tow order?" "I received a call." "From Mrs. Voss?" "First from her, then the office." "Did you notice the address error?" "Yes." "Did you proceed?" Earl looked at Marcus, then at the floor. "Yes." "Why?" "Because she said the contract depended on it. Because I wanted the account. Because I told myself the paperwork was somebody else's problem." Delaney snapped. "You were free to refuse." "I did refuse for 5 minutes." Earl rubbed the bill of his cap until it bent. "Then I hooked it anyway." Earl's voice thinned. "Ma'am, I heard you say his wife used to sit in that truck, and I still moved it." No one turned a page. Ruth lowered her eyes. Marcus felt the silver screw in his pocket press against Lydia's key and closed his fingers around both. Priya faced Delaney. "Did you know Ruth Hale had a pending medical access request?" "She had a request. And you ordered removal before responding?" "It was an appearance violation." Samuel tapped the draft, dated the next day. "Clarified after the tow." Grant wiped his mouth. "She told me to make it look like it had always been there." Delaney stood. Her chair knocked the table leg. "This hearing has become personal." Marcus finally spoke. "It became personal in my mother's driveway." The room only breathed. Samuel closed the binder. "Files, emails, vendor logs, and recordings are preserved. Vehicle towing is suspended pending full review." Grant picked up the fallen pen. The blue line across his notes had already dried. Outside, the pickup sat with light on its hood, untouched for the first time since the chain. The tow suspension notice was taped to the hall door with blue painter's tape. Marcus stepped aside so Ruth could read. Her walker wheels clicked over the threshold. "No removal without verified board approval," she said. "Medical exception review." Priya held a box of binders. "Temporary, until tonight." At 6, the hall filled again, but the chairs formed a circle instead of rows facing the board table. Delaney's name was missing from the agenda. Grant sat near Samuel Reed with no tie. Samuel handed out 3 pages. No towing without correct address, ownership verification, written authority, and an appeal window. Ben raised a hand. "Emergencies?" "Blocked hydrants, safety access, lawful order," Samuel said. "Not appearance." Priya continued. "Annual audit, public rule posting for 30 days, no retroactive language, medical access answered before enforcement." A murmur moved around the circle. Not anger now. Recognition. Earl stood at the back wall. "County line changed our intake form today. Driver confirms address and authority before hookup. If paperwork is wrong, we walk." Samuel nodded. "Submit it." "Already did." Marcus sat beside Ruth, silent, the silver screw and Lydia's key in his pocket. Delaney's empty chair made the room colder than the thermostat. Priya turned to him. "Mr. Hale, the board discussed compensation for the tow and ramp delay." "No settlement tonight," Marcus said. The room shifted. He looked at Ruth's walker, then at neighbors who had watched from behind glass. "Fix the procedure first. Money can come after the paper trail is honest." "I am," Marcus said, when Nina whispered about payment. "But not instead of rules." Ruth pressed 2 fingers against his wrist. The vote passed before sunset. Grant abstained, pale under the lights. Samuel collected signatures. Every page was dated, copied, and scanned. Outside, the entrance sign read, "Willow Creek Estates. Violation subject to immediate removal." Ben brought a screwdriver. Nina held a phone flashlight. Earl steadied the post while May worked the first rusted screw. "It's stuck." Marcus stepped forward. May shook her head. "No, I can do one." The screw gave with a sharp squeal. The sign tilted into Ben's hands. He laid it face down on the grass. Dew darkened the painted letters until they disappeared. The next afternoon, Marcus finished Ruth's ramp. The board smelled of pine. He set the last plank, checked the rail, then took the silver screw from his pocket. Ruth watched from the doorway. "That the one?" "Yes, ma'am." "Put it where I can see it." He drove it into the top board near the rail. The hum faded to silence. Ruth rolled forward without someone lifting the walker. Her wheels crossed the new plank, slow and steady. At the bottom, she stood beside the old pickup parked at the edge of the lawn. Neighbors did not clap. That would have been too easy. Nina set a covered dish on Ruth's porch. Ben adjusted the mailbox flag. Earl left a release receipt under the wiper and walked away without asking to be thanked. Marcus looked at the sign lying face down near the gate, then at Ruth's wheels resting safely on level ground. His phone buzzed with Olivia's name, and this time he answered before the second ring. 3 months later, the new sign at Willow Creek Estates did not threaten anyone. It stood lower than the old one, plain white letters on dark wood. Rules available to every owner. Appeals before penalties. Marcus noticed it on a cold January afternoon when he drove Ruth home from her follow-up. The pickup idled by the curb. Olivia's recital program unfolded under the visor. Ruth studied the sign. Looks less proud. Good. That woman ever come back? Delaney moved out in December. Ruth nodded once. I hope she learns how quiet a street gets when people stop waving. Delaney Voss had resigned before the county report was published. It listed altered dates, improper tow requests, missing minutes, and fees collected under rules that never passed. Priya read the findings while Delaney's empty chair faced the room. Howard Crane stepped down from finance. Grant Keller kept his job only after accepting probation, training, and a repayment plan. That evening, Grant came to Ruth's porch with an envelope and no folder. I can't fix that morning, he said. No, Marcus answered. Grant held it out with both hands. But this starts returning what was taken. Ruth did not reach for it right away. Wind moved through the bare branches. At last she said, Put it on the table, Mr. Keller. He did. Then he looked at the ramp. It's solid work. Marcus touched the rail. It had to be. In February, Earl Madsen parked his tow truck at the curb without lights. He carried a laminated form. Every driver signs this now, he said. Address verified. Authority verified. Owner notice checked. If one line is blank, we leave. Marcus read it beside the pickup. Earl's cap was in his hand, but he did not twist it. You showing me for approval? Marcus asked. For witness. Marcus handed it back. Then keep using it. Nina attended meetings with her phone openly on the table. Ben and May brought the shoebox of old letters to neighbors who had paid fines and never appealed. Paula stayed at the office, but the request window gained a public logbook, and residents wrote their names where everyone could see them. On the last Friday of March, Olivia held another recital in a small auditorium with blue seats and humming lights. Marcus arrived 20 minutes early. Ruth sat beside him, her walker folded at her knees. Olivia saw him before she played. Only 2 fingers lifted from the piano bench. After the final chord, she found him in the aisle. You made it. I said I would. You said that before. I know. He looked at the program in his hand, uncreased this time. I'm learning not to let the wrong people take the hours. She leaned into him, and for a moment the auditorium noise moved around them without entering. By spring, Ruth crossed her ramp every morning to water the roses. The silver screw Marcus had saved still held the top board near the rail. Its scratched head caught sunlight whenever the door opened. One morning, Ruth tapped it with her cane. That little thing caused a lot of trouble. Marcus smiled. No, ma'am. It stayed where it belonged. The pickup waited at the edge of the lawn, clean enough to shine, old enough to tell the truth. No chain touched it now. No porch curtain moved shut. Marcus opened the door for his mother, then stood in the warm pine smell of the ramp, listening to the street breathe. The screw held. If you have ever seen a rule used like a weapon, tell your story in the comments. Sometimes the smallest detail, a receipt, a recording, a witness who finally speaks, can change everything for someone who has been standing alone. Share this story with someone who believes dignity should never depend on money, titles, or a person's neighborhood. And if you want more stories about quiet resilience, justice, and real changes that protect ordinary people, subscribe and stay with us for the next one. The strongest people are not always the loudest. Sometimes they are the ones who keep standing, keep documenting, and keep choosing what is right.